It's a time of war and demons are rampaging on the land, indiscriminately attacking humans. Hope seems to be lost for all humanity, but just then, a dragon is seen hovering in the skies. It's the greatest exorcist of the land. Chanting a spell, the exorcist spreads destruction over the demon army, bringing victory to humanity. It has always been his dream to become the strongest, but this strength that he gained made the imperial court wary of him. On that awful night, the exorcist was brought to the end of his reign for going against the imperial court. By taking his students hostage and sending his favorite student after him, he was boxed into a corner. Acknowledging that he was a fool who lacked cunning like his adversary, he decided to start over. As the building came crashing down on him, he cast a reincarnation spell, promising to do better in his next life. In an unsuspecting location, a father is casting a spell on his third son, Seika, to determine whether or not he has any magic ability. After chanting the spell, nothing significant happens to the stones laid down for the ritual. Glai, the second son, seems happy about this, and his father, Blaise Lamprouje, confirms that Seika has no magic ability. As it turns out, our protagonist, the greatest exorcist in the world, has been reincarnated into another world, born into the Lamprouje clan, an important clan of mages. Unfortunately, he wasn't born with any magical power, but Seika smiles as he realizes that he has incredible spiritual power. The next day, Seika's messing around with magic, turning leaves into animals. Glai, his annoying older brother, shows up to bully him, but Seika uses one of his bird creations to fight him off. Luckily, Luft, the eldest brother, steps in to save Glai. He asks Seika if he's hurt, and Seika's like, "Nah, I'm good." But Luft's acting sus, and Seika notices. It's Seika's 7th birthday, but nobody cares enough to celebrate. Most people just leave him alone, probably because he's the son of a mistress, Seika figures. Seika's out practicing by himself again, thinking this world ain't that different from his old one. Back in his room, he's trying to make those paper talismans he used to cast spells in his past life. Then, boom, someone knocks on the door. It's Yifa, one of the maids, bringing back some clothes she found in the bushes. Seika knows Glee's the jerk who did it, but he doesn't say anything. He thanks her, but then Glee rolls up, being the total bully he is. Seika just plays dumb, doesn't even argue. Glai brags about going to the famous magic school, Imperial Lodonia Magic Academy. He's taking his sweet time showing off in front of Seika, but then Blaise shows up with Luft, scolding Glai. Blaise tells Glai to get his butt over to magic practice, and Seika asks if he can tag along, which shocks their dad. At the training ground, Luft's chanting a spell, unleashing some crazy wind magic that slices through a rock target. Then it's Glai's turn, and he throws down some impressive fire magic, making their dad proud. Glee, being the tool that he is, decides to taunt Seika, daring him to try a spell even though he knows Seika has no magic. Luft tells Glee to chill, but Seika finally steps up and accepts the challenge. He unleashes his inner spiritual energy, summoning this blue, destructive flame that obliterates the target. Everyone's jaws drop. Blaise points out that some people can use magic even without magic energy. Seika jumps on this, telling his dad he wants to learn magic too, but Blaise shuts him down, saying there's no record of that ever working. Still, he'll give him the same lessons as his brothers. Seika's thankful. They wrap up training for the day, and Glai snatches his wand back, fuming. Seika's determined to learn about this new world and throws himself into his studies, watching his brothers train through his paper bird familiar. He's super dedicated, but his dad's got his eye on him. Months fly by, and Seika's now 11. Back in his past life, he could seal away otherworldly monsters and control them. He's planning on doing that again, but he's not sure how it'll go. Chanting a spell in some ancient language, Seika opens a portal to another dimension, calling one of his old spirit buddies. A girl pops out, and Seika's wondering if his spell glitched, but before he can even finish that thought, she tackles him, stoked to see him again. He's struggling to get her off him, and he realizes it's Yuki, an old friend, but she looks a bit different, probably cause of his spiritual energy or this new world. After catching up, Seika's about to send her back, but she's not feeling that gross dimension, so she transforms into some weird creature and hides in his hair. And the next day, Seika sees Glee hassling Yifa. He watches for a bit, but when things get too rough, he steps in, almost getting into a fight with his brother, but he saves Yifa. She thanks him and leads him to the garden, showing him a hurt animal. Seika uses his weird magic and heals it. Yifa's amazed and praises him, but he says she's got some special magic powers too. She tries to deny it, but Seika reveals he can see the spirit creatures she talks to. So, Yifa spills the beans about her powers. Seika's impressed, saying he's been looking for someone with similar abilities. Then, he asks her if she wants to train with him. After some convincing and a few demos, she finally agrees, and they spend the next few seasons training together. Time zips by, and Seika's now 12. Being the son of a mistress, he gets no birthday presents, as usual. Walking down the hall, his brothers invite him to some swordsmanship training, cause Seika's gonna join the army. It's a family tradition. Just then, the maids rush up, saying a monster's coming. They quickly spot an elder newt chilling in the bushes. Glai runs away screaming, while Luft's barking orders, but Seika charges in, much to Luft's dismay. Yifa and another maid are in trouble, but Yifa uses her elemental magic to buy them some time. Seika's impressed, but the newt recovers quickly. It sets its sights on Seika and chases him, but Seika just casts a single spell, and the newt goes down instantly. Everyone's stunned. Then, they cheer for his bravery, and Seika's feeling good, deciding to be as cunning as his enemies from his past life. That night, they throw a huge feast to celebrate Seika's victory over the Elder Newt. Everyone's impressed with Seika, showering him with praise, except Glee, who's totally pissed. Blaze, wondering how Seika knew how to beat the monster, asks him about it. Seika explains he read it in books and watched Blaze do it in the past. Satisfied, Blaze feels like he owes him a reward. Seika seizes the chance, stands up, and asks to be enrolled in the Imperial Lodonia Magic Academy. Gly's freaking out, especially when Blaze agrees, saying he has to pass the exams on his own. But Seika's not done yet. He also asks for Yifa to come with him, which shocks the heck out of her. His father's all like, nah, Yifa's got zero magical skills, but Seika's like, hold up, I'll prove you wrong. So, he helps Yifa pull off this crazy fire magic spell that totally blows everyone's minds. Blaze is super impressed and satisfied, and he's like, alright fine, she can do magic. But Gly's gotta chime in, complaining about how the Lamprough family tradition says only one son goes to Magic Academy, and the other goes to the army. Blaze is like, yeah, you're right. Then he drops the bomb. Seika's going to the academy, and Gly's shipping off to the army. Gly's jaw drops, but Blaze keeps going, explaining how Seika's been grinding and getting better while Gly's been slacking off. Gly's had enough and challenges Seika to a duel, saying whoever wins goes to the academy, and the loser's gotta leave home. Blaze asks Seika if he's down with those rules, and Seika's like, let's do it. Their mom's worried about Gly, but Gly ain't backing down. Blaze lays down the law. No weapons or high-level spells, and he'll be the judge. That night, Seika's still cranking out his paper talismans, and Yuki's all worried, asking if he's gonna kill Gly. Seika brushes it off, but then, knock knock, it's his oldest brother, Luft, who wants to chat. Seika's surprised when Luft wishes him a happy birthday and gives him a gift. He actually acknowledges Seika, apologizing for being a jerk in the past, and then asks Seika to take it easy on Gly during the duel. After their little heart-to-heart, Seika's checking out the glass pen Luft gave him with Yuki, but then, he senses something's off, and whoosh, a massive gust of wind blasts through the window. He looks up and sees Gly glaring at him, demanding they duel right then and there. Seika's amused and decides to play along, asking Gly why he's being so impatient. Gly rants about his frustrations. Then bam! He throws a powerful fire magic attack, going against his dad's orders, trying to torch Seika. He's totally shocked when Seika walks out without a scratch. Then Gly switches to wind magic, but Seika deflects it easily with some light magic. Gly's losing it, but Seika's already prepped one of his paper talismans and casts a paralysis spell on Gly. He thoroughly schools Gly, who's left wondering who Seika even is. Seika warns him to surrender, but Gly just passes out from the pain and exhaustion. Seika then thinks back to Gly's words about how he just got lucky killing the Elder Newt, but Seika just laughs, remembering how he planned it all out. He'd been plotting for 6 months, ever since he opened a door to another dimension and summoned Bonds, one of his tamed monsters. After a quick hello, he ordered Bonds to find an Elder Newt in the mountains and drive it out of its nest. After reliving his master plan, Seika helps Gly up and carries him back to the house, happy that everything worked out without anyone getting hurt. Yuki's worried about his complicated methods for dealing with weak humans, but he reminds her that those weak humans killed him in his past life. Now, he's not trying to dominate them, just be smart and live among them. Spring rolls around, and it's time for Seika and Yuki to head to the Magic Academy. After saying goodbye to his oldest brother, Seika and Yuki hop into the carriage and head for the Imperial Lodonia Magic Academy. On the way, Seika gives Yifa a gift, a magical stone that draws elementals to her, hoping it'll help her get stronger for his own benefit. Seika starts feeling motion sickness, just like in his previous life, and Yifa looks worried. But then, she points out that they've arrived at the academy. Back at home, Blaze is drowning in paperwork. He figures Seika's arrived at the academy and remembers how he took the kid in. Some stranger dropped Seika off at his mansion. He's the son of his weird brother, Gilbert, who went missing on a demon territory adventure. The baby was born with black hair and eyes, which is super rare, and he could even use magic at age 1. Luft and Gly avoided him, and Gly naturally saw him as an enemy. Blaze wonders if Seika's a human-demon hybrid, remembering his strange fire magic and how he killed the Elder Newt with some kind of poisonous fire. He feels bad for what he did to Gly, but he thinks it's too dangerous to send Seika to the army. Seika could become a hero or a demon king, depending on his environment. Blaze hopes the academy's still a good place for him. At the Imperial Lodonia Magic Academy, Seika and Yifa finally get a place to crash. Yifa seems happy to see Seika has weaknesses, but when he tells her that her room is next door, she gets sad, asking if she can stay with him that night. Seika's totally clueless and thinks she's talking about getting him food. Hearing this, Yifa sadly excuses herself to find him something to eat. After she leaves, Yuki appears, looking jealous and explaining to the oblivious idiot that Yifa is head over heels for him. After settling in, Seika and Yifa head out to register for the exams. Seika notices the crazy amount of magical power in the air, but figures it's normal since they're at a magic school. At the registration booth, the other noble kids recognize Seika's family name and start whispering. Seika ignores them, and they get their magic power checked. Yifa goes first, and the woman at the booth says she has an affinity for fire, but when Seika tries, nothing happens. The woman's confused, but Seika tells her he doesn't have any affinity for magic. This causes a stir as everyone grumbles about another noble kid trying to use connections to get into the academy. Just then, this sassy red-haired commoner chick named Amyu shows up, telling everyone to shut up and pushing her way to the front. Turns out, she has an affinity for all 4 elements, which blows everyone's minds. She leaves as quickly as she came, but when Seika thanks her for sticking up for him, she basically tells him off, saying she hates people like him who have no magic but use connections to get in. As she storms off, Seika notices her red hair and realizes she's someone he knows from his previous life. Yifa and Seika take their written exams, and Yifa's super anxious about the results. Seika tries to comfort her, but then he spots Amyu, the red-haired commoner. He notices the sword on her waist and is itching to see how strong she really is. The students head outside for the practical exams, and after the instructor explains the rules, he tells them to cast their spells one by one. Seika and Yifa watch as the students take turns hitting the targets. Seika thinks the spells are pretty weak. It's Yifa's turn, and Seika wishes her good luck. She steps up and unleashes a crazy destructive blast of flames without even chanting. Even the instructor is surprised, and when she says she wants to move on to the next target, even Seika is taken aback. Again, without any chanting, she casts a wind spell that obliterates the target. Apologizing for the destruction, she walks up to Seika, who's super hyped. It's Seika's turn to take the exam, and he steps up. Everyone's tripping, wondering what he's gonna do since he ain't got no magical juice. But bam! Seika surprises everyone, throwing down a blue fire spell without even saying any magic words. Next target, he hits him with this weird stone spell, totally unorthodox. And then, boom, ice and water spell, freezing the next target solid. Everyone's shocked, like always, but Yifa's hyped about how things are going down. Later that night, the register lady pops in to see what's up. Even with all the chaos Seika and Yifa caused, the instructor's like, "Yo, there's another student even stronger, rocking all the elements." The lady's not even phased, saying that girl's her student and might even be the legendary hero who's gonna face off against the Demon King when he wakes up. After the exams, Seika and Yifa go to peep their scores. Yifa's stressing, like usual, but Seika chills her out. He sees his name in 3rd place, and he's wondering who's on top. Then Yifa screams because she's in 2nd place. Seika is totally surprised. And get this, the top student is the girl with all 4 elements. No shocker there. A few days later, they get an invite to their inn, saying they're officially in the academy. That night, Seika and Yifa head to the entrance ceremony. Yifa's worried she can't serve him anymore, but Seika's like, "Chill, you're just a student like me." Just then, Seika feels some weird energy. Yifa notices a crazy amount of dark elementals nearby. They decide to check it out. Seika jumps in the bushes and finds a huge magic circle. He tells Yifa they should leave it alone since it belongs to the academy, but sneaky Seika sticks one of his paper talismans there to keep an eye on it. They get to the banquet hall, and Yifa's mind blown by how huge it is. Seika grabs some food and tells her to do the same. Then, out of nowhere, this red-haired chick named Amyu jumps on stage. Everyone's watching as she starts giving her speech about being the strongest. But just then, the magic circle goes live, and Seika feels it. He senses demons closing in, and boom, the hall explodes as some weak demons crash the party. The students try to fight back, but Seika thinks it's all useless. Before he can jump in, Amyu goes ham, warding off the demons. Seika lets her handle it, but he notices the demons are acting weird, like they're looking for something. He switches his view to the magic circle, and just like he thought, there's a big-time demon chilling there. After dropping some wisdom on Yifa, Seika teleports to the magic circle. He walks up to the demon all confident, but the demon just feels bad for this clueless kid, trying to teach him a lesson. The demon calls in some goons. They rush at Seika, but he smacks down 2 of them easy. Then, using some crazy spell, he seals the last one, who seems tougher. The high-level demon thinks Seika's strong and decides to get serious. Magic circles pop up around him, and tons of swords appear. Seika, acting like a cocky fool, throws out a simple spell. The demon swats it away like nothing. Seika's surprised he can see his paper talisman, so Seika casts a spell to blur the demon's vision, but it doesn't even slow him down. The demon teleports his blade, and Seika almost gets skewered. But it's just a trick! The demon appears behind him and slices off his arm. They chill for a sec, and Seika uses the chance to ask what the demon wants. He gets the demon to spill the tea about finding the hero prophesied to defeat the Demon King when he comes back. Turns out the demon's looking for Amyu, the red-haired commoner. The battle's back on, and Seika's running for his life. Suddenly, he gets stabbed, and the demon chops him to bits. But as the demon turns to leave, he hears Seika's voice. He turns back, and Seika's standing there, alive and kicking. The demon's freaked out, wondering how this kid's still breathing. He throws a blade into Seika's head, but it does nothing. Seika just keeps chatting, not even bothered by the demon. The demon tries again and again to kill him, but nothing works. Seika throws a water spell, but the demon teleports away. He summons some magic beasts, hoping that will work, and tries to attack the demon, but this doesn't work. The demon appears behind him and impales him with his arm. However, this all seems to be a part of Seika's plan as he casts a devastating spell that brings the demon to his knees. The demon can still fight, but Seika shows a piece of his true power. After chanting a summoning spell, he summons one of his strongest beasts, Ryu. The demon loses it, amazed that even the Demon King couldn't summon something so epic. Ryu cleans the floor with the demon, but he tries to bounce. Seika reacts fast and seals Ryu back up. After the fight, Yuki shows up, jumping into his arms. All worried, they head back to the academy. Seika is amazed by Amiu and how she single-handedly beat all the weak demons. Seeing this, Seika's hyped to help her become the strongest and be her friend. And a month goes by after the demon thing, and everyone seems to have moved on. That morning, Yifa joins Seika as they head to class. Seika spots Amiu walking too. Hyped up, he decides he's gonna talk to her and get her on his side. But when he says hi, she roasts him, telling him to never talk to her again before walking off. Ouch, but Seika ain't giving up. He's ready to take his time and win her over. As they walk, Seika notices something above them. It's a big pot. It tips over, about to spill its contents on them. Seika uses teleportation magic just in time to save them. And as he checks out the weird liquid, their instructor yells from the window, asking if they're good. He comes out to grab his pot and apologizes, saying he was practicing levitation with dark magic, but he's struggling since he's a light magic guy. Seika's impressed that someone can use both light and dark magic. Later that day, their teacher says the top students are going to deliver a student roster in the Lodonia forest. Seika remembers how dangerous that forest is and worries about Yifa. He asks to take her place, and the teacher's cool with it since Yifa doesn't mind. Walking back to their dorms, Yifa's jealous, thinking Seika might be into Amiu, but Seika reassures her, saying he just wants to be friends with someone strong. He then apologizes for his actions in class, and Yifa gladly accepts it. Time for Seika and Amiu to head to the forest. The teacher hands them the roster. They hit the road, and Amiu starts making small talk, asking what his deal is. He tells her he just wants to be friends, but Amiu thinks he's hitting on her. Just then, Amiu feels a sharp pain in her head, and Seika sees a magic circle nearby. They check it out together, but bam, the circle activates, and they're stuck in some weird dungeon. Lizard men attack them, and Amiu moves fast, showing off her skills and taking them down quick. But she drops her guard and gets jumped by another one. Seika saves her, using wood magic to quickly dispatch it. Amiu's getting worried, and they head deeper into the dungeon. Walking down the dark hall, they chat, and Seika uses light magic to help them survive, which impresses Amiu. As they go down the tunnel, Seika uses his paper talismans to help his homies on the surface find their location and get them out of there. As Yuki is hyping him up like crazy for being a genius, bam, a squad of super strong monsters shows up out of nowhere. Amiu, always down to throw hands, steps up and starts showing off some seriously sick sword skills. But uh-oh, these monsters are kinda op, and she's getting wrecked. Seika's like, hold up, I got this, and busts out some wood magic, straight up deleting those monsters. He notices Amiu's out cold, so he decides to drop a summoning spell, and boom, a massive, centipede-looking beast appears. It's a total bloodbath, and Seika's just chilling, knowing it's got this. Eventually, Amiu wakes up, but her head is throbbing like crazy again. Seika's like, yo, that might be a curse, fam, and starts setting up a barrier. He tries to explain it to her, but she's all, nah, I didn't see any curse mark on my body. But when he hints it could be somewhere he can't see, Amiu totally freaks out. Super embarrassed, she strips down so he can check her back, but nope, nothing there. Still, Seika's convinced it's a curse, cause the barrier is totally working, keeping the pain away. He's all, give me a strand of your hair, and uses it to transfer the curse to his talisman. After that, they just chill, making small talk. They start vibing and end up getting kinda close. Seika spills the tea about his past, how he's the son of a mistress, and Amiu tells him how she was an outcast growing up, cause she loved to fight. Later, Seika notices his talisman is glowing. Finally, he knows where he is and can bail whenever he wants, but nah. He decides to go adventuring with Amiu. They head deeper into the dungeon, and after wrecking a few more monsters, they find the final boss. They team up to take this thing down, and Seika jumps in, casting his wood spell. But it's totally useless. Even Amiu's wind magic isn't doing much. Then, working together, Seika summons an exploding plant, and Amiu sets it off with fire magic. Boom! Total carnage. She goes in for the final kill, stabbing the boss monster right in the head. After the fight, Amiu's super hyped and hugs Seika, stoked that they crushed her first boss monster and are totally in sync. Realizing what she did, she bails, feeling mega embarrassed. But Seika's just happy to see her getting stronger. They grab their loot, Amiu gets the sword, and Seika snags the ring. They head back to the academy and give the teachers the rundown, skipping the parts about the curse and Seika's spells, of course. Seika then heads over to his instructor's office. He drops the bomb about the curse on Amu, and Mr. Cordell realizes Seika's onto him. Seika spills all the secrets, from casting the magic circle to causing the dungeon incident. Seika demands he reveal his true identity, and Mr. Cordell admits he's a demon spy. His plan was to curse the hero and have her die from natural causes, but now that his cover's blown, he has to ice Seika. But Seika's like, nah, I transferred the curse to one of my talismans. He explains that the curse uses demon blood, and since Amu was soaked in blood during the demon attack, it was the perfect spell to use. Mr. Cordell is speechless, but just then, Seika summons a demon, the one he captured before, slices it open, and bathes in its blood. After chanting a spell, he transfers the curse back to the teacher who drops dead instantly. Seika bounces, stoked to finally live a normal life at the academy. Later that day, he gifts the ring he got to Yifa, hoping she'll get stronger. Just then, he spots Amu in the distance, but when he calls out to her, she gives him the cold shoulder, but is all friendly with Yifa. Seika's totally confused, but Yuki clues him in that Amu's probably just being shy. Later, at the academy cafeteria, Seika and his crew are having a good time, chatting and munching on grub. Seika can't help but notice there haven't been any demon attacks since he warded them off. He's a little bummed because he prepped a bunch of countermeasures. Then, out of nowhere, the weird, bearded vice principal struts into the cafeteria and summons Seika and Yifa to the principal's office. Seika's got a bad feeling about this, but he doesn't spot the strange girl watching him and his friends from the shadows. Doing as they're told, Seika and Yifa stroll down the massive hallways and arrive at the principal's office. He notices the principal is a demi-human, but she snaps at him, saying she hates that term. Seika apologizes and they get down to business, and the principal tells him she wants him to rep the school in some competition, along with another student. Just then, a red-haired chick walks in and introduces herself as Mabel Crane, the same one who was scoping them out earlier. Amu is pissed that she wasn't picked to rep the school, even though she's the strongest. They talk about the competition and how the school has never bothered before, but Yifa points out that the rules got tweaked to include magic, so now the school wants in to boost its rep. But Amu's still salty that the strongest student, aka her, didn't get the call, and Seika relays the principal's words, saying she thinks Seika and Yifa are a better fit. This only makes Amu angrier, but when they ask if she actually wants to compete, she's like, nah, not really. The prize money is tempting, but she doesn't want to join the Royal Guard. Still, she's miffed they didn't even ask. Seika suggests the academy didn't want to send someone too powerful. Amu disagrees, saying Seika's strong. Seika denies it, but Amu ain't buying it. She gets why they're sending him, but she doesn't get why Yifa's going too. After their little chat, the trio heads outside, and Amu keeps ranting about the competition. She's super skeptical about the other school rep, Mabel Crane, doubting her skills and thinking she'll probably bail. Just then, Mabel makes her grand entrance, having overheard Amu. She throws down the gauntlet, calling her weak. Amused and annoyed, Amu accepts the challenge, and the two redheads get ready to rumble. Mabel reluctantly grabs a sword, seeing no point in this. They take their stances, and Seika can't help but notice Mabel's pro stance. Yifa's worried, but Seika tells her to chill. He thinks it's a good chance to see what Mabel's got. Seika gives the signal to start, and Amu charges in, but her attack is easily blocked. The two redheads show off some serious sword skills, but the fight ends quick when Mabel easily knocks Amu's sword away. Mabel's feeling herself, but as she walks away, Amu accuses her of using dark magic during a sword fight. Seika noticed it too. Mabel used gravity magic on her sword, but Mabel doesn't back down, saying that's why Amu's weak. She also tells Seika he better get serious if he wants to win. Seika thanks her for the advice, and Yifa goes to check on Amu. Amu gets up, dusting off her skirt. Then, she makes a dramatic announcement, saying she's made her decision. So, Seika finds himself in the same carriage as Mabel and Yifa, headed for the competition, but he can't figure out why Amu's tagging along. He asks if she got permission from the school, but she dodges the question, looking guilty. Then, Yifa notices Seika's looking green, and Amu's surprised he gets motion sickness. She then turns to Mabel, telling her to respect her seniors, but Mabel reveals they're the same age. She just started school late. Amu's shocked, and Yifa chimes in, saying she started late too, since she's older than all of them. Hearing this, Amu can't help but look surprised. Seeing their playful banter, Mabel thinks they're a bunch of clueless kids. Seika asks what's wrong with that, seeing as they are kids, but he decides to shut his mouth. They arrive and decide to look around. Seika's feeling awful, having totally succumbed to motion sickness. Then, they realize Mabel's vanished, and they head to the competition grounds. The trio checks Seika's name on the tournament bracket, and gets a look at his opponents. After checking out what he wanted, Seika leaves, and tells Amu and Yifa to look around. Yifa seems bummed, like she wants to go with him, but Amu's all, nah girl, sometimes dudes just need their space. So, after getting some alone time, this super uptight dude starts digging into why the principal even sent him to this competition in the first place. It's competition day, and the host is like, "Welcome everyone, here are the rules." Then she introduces the first fighter, Seika Lamprogue, and the crowd and his friends go wild. Seika's facing off against this rogue noble, Dennis Regan. He's a swordsman who got kicked out of his family for being too aggressive. Regan's all cocky, thinking he's gonna crush this noble kid. They trash talk a bit, and then bam, the match starts. Regan's pissed cause Seika's acting all chill, so he charges in for a stab, but Seika's like, "Teleport," and pops up behind him. Then, whoosh, he uses wind magic to blast Regan right out of the ring. Match over, just like that. Seika walks back to his friends, and Yuki suddenly appears in his hair, nagging him not to be careless or draw too much attention. Next up, Sage Ford versus Kyle. But yo, Kyle activates his evil eye spell, and Sage is totally frozen. Seika notices something sus, but he can't do anything as Kyle walks up to Sage and stab. Right in the gut, match over. Seika's now super wary of this Kyle guy, but thinks he's figured out his evil eye trick. Okay, round 2. Match 1. Seika's battling Labinary, the puppeteer. Seika secretly calls up an Ayakashi, one of his many monster pets, and it smashes Labinary's golem to pieces. Labinary's helpless, so he's all, "I surrender." Seika wins. Walking down the hall, Seika tells Yuki that summoners aren't allowed in the tourney. If they caught him summoning, he'd be disqualified. Then he meets up with his buddies Yifa and Amu. Amu sees Yifa's worried, and she tells Seika that Yifa's been freaked out ever since Kyle's fight and thinks Seika should just forfeit to be safe. Yifa asks Seika if he's seriously planning to join the Royal Guard if he wins the tournament, but Seika says he's gonna turn down the offer. Amu can't even picture Seika losing. She's like, "No way you're gonna lose." As they're talking, the next match of round 2 kicks off. Mabel Crane versus Howlo. Howlo attacks first, but Mabel just brushes it off like it's nothing. Howlo realizes his mid-level magic ain't working, so he tries some higher-level stuff, but Mabel's not impressed. She's getting ready to strike, so Howlo throws up some magic walls to try and dodge her attack. But Mabel? She uses gravity magic to make her rapiers and throwing daggers, like, 1,000,000 times heavier than rock. Now that's power. Mabel charges. Her attack is so heavy and strong, she smashes Howlo's spearhead clean off. He knows he's outmatched, so he has to surrender. Mabel wins. The announcer calls Mabel the red-haired hero, and Seika's like, "Yo, Amu, why is she getting called a hero?" Amu explains that the second hero ever was also named Mabel, and used the same weapon. That's probably why. Later, Seika catches a demon spy about to send out a messenger pigeon. Seika's all, "What's the message?" But the spy clams up. As the spy walks away, he suddenly spins around to attack. Seika saw it coming though, and uses a spell to tie him up with vines. "Who are you reporting to?" Seika demands, but the spy's still not talking. So Seika summons Satori, an Ayakashi who can read minds, to get the info. Satori gets everything Seika needs about the hero. As a reward, Seika tells Satori to eat the spy. After Satori eats the spy, he tries to read Seika's mind. Seika feels bad about letting the spy die, but he figures it's too dangerous to let him live. Seika stops Satori from reading his mind by threatening to kill him, then sends him back. He apologizes to Yuki, who's freaked out by what she just saw. Seika grabs the pigeon with the message and tries to read it, but it's in code. Even so, he figures out what the school's up to. They want the fake hero, Mabel, to win and get all the attention, so the demons don't find the real hero, Amu. Yuki asks why he thinks so, and Seika says Cordell found Amu, and the school probably did too. But the demons lost her trail, because Seika offed the spy and assassin who were the only ones who knew who she was. Yuki also wonders if Seika's not curious about where Mabel's from, but he's like, "Nah, probably a fake name. Don't care. As long as she keeps Amu safe, I'm good." Back at the tournament, Kyle, the evil eye guy, wins his second match just as easily as the first. Even though his opponent was a tough fighter, they were helpless against the evil eye, and this young knight named Rhaenys easily won his match, using earth and wind magic. In his second match, he showed off his skills with fire and water magic, and everyone's talking about him. His opponent in the third round just straight up forfeited. Seika's third round opponent was a necromancer, but he was no match. Mabel also won her match easily. Mabel stops Seika in the hallway, telling him to forfeit their upcoming semi-final match. She's even threatening him, but Seika's like, "Nah." Just then, they announce that Rhaenys and Kyle both won their third matches by default, so they're having their semi-final bout today. During the match, Rhaenys uses his night magic and adds an evil eye resistance. Kyle just calmly walks towards him as Rhaenys throws a bunch of attacks that don't even land. Kyle just keeps coming. Rhaenys uses magic to make some golems, but Kyle destroys them all with his dark shadow magic. Rhaenys gets desperate and charges at Kyle. Kyle's all over it, using magic to stab his own shadow into Rhaenys' shadow, freezing him in place. Kyle wins and moves on to the finals. Later that night, Yuki asks Seika if he's planning to lose tomorrow because he doesn't seem to be thinking about winning. Seika's all, "No way," and says he wants to sleep. Suddenly, he sees Yuki in her human form lying next to him. He's like, "Whoa, what's up with you?" Yuki whines about wanting to sleep next to him, totally enjoying the moment while Seika's freaking out. As Seika's about to get comfy, he senses something through the eagle's eyes. He dives to protect Yuki from an attack. Yuki, clueless, is just having fantasies about them sleeping together. The attacker is Mabel. She's going all out, trying to kill Seika. She's attacking like crazy, and she means business. Then, some dude shows up, making things even crazier, but Seika's quick and skilled, and he manages to scare the guy off. Mabel knows she's beat, so she vanishes into the night. Seika turns to Yuki, who's back in her animal form, and tells her everything's cool. He's like, it's just a trial run for tomorrow's battle. Since Mabel came all the way to kill me, we should go spend the night with her. Seika spots Mabel, and she suddenly pulls out her dagger like she's ready to fight. Seika sees her stance and says he's not there to fight. He points out that she's not good with daggers, she's better with heavier weapons. Mabel's confused and asks why he followed her if he doesn't want to fight. Seika says he just wants to talk and suggests she tell him what's bugging her. He even hints that he might forfeit the battle if she tells him what's up. Mabel's shocked, especially after their fight earlier. She admits she just wanted to hurt him to make him forfeit tomorrow's fight. Seika drops a bomb on Mabel. He knows she's here in Amu's place, but he thinks there's another reason why this is so important to her. Mabel's taken aback and admits that her job is to be killed by Kyle, so the demons think the hero is dead. She reveals that the Rugrock Merchants Association takes slave kids with potential and turns them into mercenaries. Both she and Kyle were trained by them, and the association's main goal is to see if Kyle has become a perfect mercenary. Alright, so, last time we saw Seika, things were getting intense. Let's jump right back into the action, shall we? So, Mabel's spilling the tea, right? Turns out, to make someone a mercenary, the association basically drills a hole in their head and shoves magic in there. This turns them into emotionless robots who just follow orders. Savage! She also drops that these kids, all gathered up to be mercs, get put into teams of 4 at training camp. Only one gets the brain zap, but to become a real deal mercenary, that kid's gotta ice their 3 friends. Talk about a messed up final exam. Mabel tells Seika she's gotta off Kyle in the finals because he smoked her brother, but Seika's not buying it. He's like, nah fam, I know Kyle's your brother, same eyes, you just dyed your hair. Busted, Mabel, seeing she's been caught, comes clean. Before Kyle got brain fried, he told her to end him if he ever lost himself. She's determined to stop him, even if it means dying. Rugrock Merchants Association will off her whether she wins, loses, or bolts. Then, out of nowhere, Seika's channeling his inner hero. He jumps up and declares he'll defeat Kyle in the finals, promising Mabel she won't have to die. He's all, go back to the academy, I got you. I'm the strongest. Mabel's touched, but still insists she has to take down Kyle herself. Seika, Mr. Confidence himself, says he'll prove he's the strongest. And boom, it's time for the second semifinal match. Mabel's facing Seika with this crazy weapon, moving faster than you'd expect with something so huge, because she's using gravity magic to make it lighter. Seika tries to bind her with vines, but she resists. Then, he pulls a pro gamer move, making her weapon 1,000 times heavier, and trapping her with mercury-binding vines. He lifts her axe, signaling his victory and snagging his spot in the finals. As he walks off, he's like, it's cool, just leave Kyle to me. Now, it's Seika versus Kyle in the ultimate showdown. Kyle's bummed, saying this wasn't the plan, probably expecting Mabel. Seika fires back, saying when Kyle loses, he's got to apologize to Mabel. Seika drops some red smoke to hide his moves and throws a bunch of attacks, but Kyle's unfazed, just walking straight at him. So, Seika pulls out the big guns. Ushioni, a massive beast, tosses Kyle across the arena, but as Seika gets closer, bam, a spell seal activates and hits him hard. Seika throws up a barrier, but the curse still gets through, and Kyle coughs up blood. Kyle can't take the damage and kicks the bucket. Seika's seeing red and tries to bring Kyle back to life, but Yuki stops him. She reminds him about his vow not to use resurrection magic in this life, and the bad juju that caused him to reincarnate in the first place. Seika realizes she's right, and reluctantly backs down. He stares at Kyle's body, a mix of anger and sadness, but he knows he has to stick to his promises and the lessons he's learned. The tournament wraps up, and Seika straight up lies, telling everyone Kyle vanished because he destroyed him completely. The Emperor didn't even bother showing up, and the tournament committee just hands Seika the victory medal. He politely turns down the offer to join the royal guards, like always. At least he got that prize money though. Seika moves Kyle's body to some other dimension to carry him out, wanting to give him a proper burial at Kyle's grave. Mabel figures out this was gonna happen and guesses her brother was cursed. Seika reveals he knows Mabel is her real name because Kyle kept saying it. He also apologizes about the 4-leaf clover. Mabel gets it and just loses it, crying her eyes out. After she calms down, she asks what's gonna happen to her now. Seika reassures her, saying she'll go back to school to study, and that everything will be okay because he's got this. Seika meets up with his friends, walking with Mabel. Amu challenges Mabel to a sword fight, no magic allowed, but Amu cheats and uses magic anyway, then brags about winning. She offers Mabel a handshake and invites her to practice with her for a while. Cut to the principal's office. Seika lays out the whole plan, Mabel as the fake hero, and how the plan was for him to win and bring her back to school. The principal confirms the association planned everything, wanting Kyle to win to make their mercenaries famous. They saw the kids as just tools, but thanks to Seika, Mabel's safe, and the association lost their masterpiece, Kyle, which is karma at its finest. The principal tells Seika that Mabel will need his help, and that he should look after her. Seika looks for Mabel, but she's changed her look, so he doesn't recognize her standing right in front of him. When he finally gets it, she tries to bolt, not wanting to study with him because she finds it hard. Lunchtime! Seika breaks the news to his friends. When Amu asks about summer plans, Seika drops that he's been assigned to investigate a dragon in the kingdom of Astria. Amu's like, "Why you?" And Seika explains he's going in place of his busy dad. Yifa adds that his grades are top-notch, so his dad probably thought he was perfect. Amu and Mabel offer to tag along, but Seika says they need to chill with their parents. Seika then asks Yifa to come with him, and she's down. Just as Amu asks when they're leaving, Celilio, the crown prince of Astria, walks in, geeking out over the academy building and thinking about rebuilding it. His assistant snaps him out of it, and the prince walks up to Seika. Seika's like, "You didn't have to come all this way. I would have come to you." But the prince says he wanted to see the Empire's magic academy while meeting him. Then Prince Celilio's eyes lock onto Yifa, and he's completely smitten. He straight up asks her to join his harem and become one of his wives. The room goes silent. Everyone is shocked by the prince's bold move. Yifa, cool as a cucumber, tells the prince she's Seika's slave. The prince then tries to buy her from Seika, offering big bucks, but his assistant jumps in, reminding him this isn't the place for that. Later, in a private room with the prince, Seika asks about the dragon his dad mentioned in the letter. The prince reveals the dragon of Astria has been chill with the people for over a century, but has been acting weird for the past year. Seika asks why the dragon and people have been cool up until now. The prince says the dragon was hatched from an egg by the queen of Astria. It's legendary stuff! He hopes Seika can check out the dragon's recent behavior and figure out if the legends are true. The prince keeps staring at Yifa, trying to ask her to dinner, but his assistant, Lies, steps in, telling him to chill out. The prince and Lies reluctantly leave. As Seika's walking down the road, Amu and Mabel pull him aside. They're worried, asking if he's gonna hand Yifa over to the prince. Seika says no way, unless that's what Yifa really wants. 2 days later, Seika and Yifa leave school with the prince's carriage and his guards. As usual, Seika gets motion sickness from the carriage ride because he's not used to it. Yifa tells him Prince Celilio asked her to ride in his carriage before they left, but she's not sure what to say because she doesn't think he really wants a girl like her in his harem. Seika tells her the prince is serious, which makes Yifa happy, but Seika has a bad feeling about the whole thing. 9 days later, they arrive at the old capital of Astria, Protoaster. The prince tells Seika, everyone's been scared because the dragon's been attacking, making trade a nightmare. Suddenly, the dragon appears, hovering over the area, and looking like it's about to strike. Someone then summons a lava tiger that chases the dragon off but then turns to attack. Seika restrains the tiger with a spell, but the lava tiger breaks free and charges at Seika, who's about to cast another spell. Just then, the summoner stops the tiger and makes it disappear. The prince scolds the summoner, who turns out to be Zekt, the head of the mercenary group the prince hired. The prince introduces Zekt to Seika, who's intrigued. Zekt's all, "Lol, an emissary at your age?" Seika fires back, asking the prince why he even hired a merc. Princey explains it's to slay the dragon, thinks it's the only way. Seika's like, "Hold up, dude. Worst case, the dragon dips and attacks another country." Zekt jumps in, bragging about fighting tons of dragons, which really grinds Seika's gears. These two are going at it. Seika's preaching about understanding the dragon's vibes and finding a peaceful way out, but Zekt's stuck on fight first, ask questions later. The prince finally steps in, telling Zekt to chill and sending him packing. Then he warns Seika too. Seika keeps arguing against killing the dragon, but the prince shuts him down, telling him to stay out of it. Seika apologizes and then turns to Yifa, scolding her for not using her magic to protect herself. He reminds her he can't always be there to save her butt. The prince chimes in, saying Seika's being too harsh, but Seika snaps at him to butt out. He tells Yifa again that she needs to learn to defend herself. Walking back to their ride, Seika feels kinda bad for snapping at Yifa, but then he flashes back to his old life, sees an older student, someone he was close to, get eaten right in front of him. He doesn't want Yifa to end up like that. The next day, they hit up the library to dig up some dirt on the dragon. They find this book that says the queen hatched the dragon from an egg, and they all lived happily ever after. The book also says the dragon, a dude, moved to the mountains with a new female dragon. Then, 50 years later, the dragons started attacking people, which is exactly what's happening now. Seika figures the dragons went aggro back then because they had babies, and their magic wasn't enough to feed everyone. But Yifa points out that this time, there aren't any baby dragons. This dragon's a dude. Seika's stumped. Something else must be up. He decides to climb the mountain and check it out himself. Yifa's worried, saying it's too dangerous. He promises he won't fight the dragon and will bolt if he gets spotted. She wants to tag along, but he's like, no way, it's way too risky. Later that night, while Seika's hitting the books, Yifa tells him the prince wants to see her. Seika's like, "Nah, you don't have to go." He notices she's scared to be alone in her room, so he invites her in. He says she can have the bed all to herself, but she's like, "Dude, the bed's huge. We can both fit." As they're lying there, he asks her what she thinks about the prince, and if she's thinking about joining his harem. Yifa says no, but Seika wants the truth. Yifa gets all bummed, thinking he wants to ditch her, but Seika clarifies, being invited to the royal harem is a huge honor. He'd miss her, but everyone's gotta choose their own path. Hearing this, Yifa feels better and says goodnight, saying she'll think about it. In the morning, Yuki tells Seika he was too hard on Yifa, and that she's been crushing on him since they were kids. Seika decides to confront the prince. He's like, "Yo, why'd you call for my servant last night?" The prince says he just wanted to chat and asks Seika to help him apologize. Seika says if the prince is serious about getting with Yifa, he should apologize himself. The prince then asks Seika if he'd give Yifa to him, but Seika straight up refuses unless Yifa's into it. Finally, Seika tells the prince he's heading up the mountain. The prince tells him to be careful. Seika says goodbye to Yifa and peaces out. While Seika's gone, Lies swoops in and starts poisoning Yifa's mind about Seika. She tells Yifa that Seika's a monster, and that all the elemental spirits avoid him like the plague. Not because he has no magic, but because he gives off demon vibes. Yifa defends Seika, saying he's human, and reminding Lies that they grew up together. But Lies is sticking to her guns. Seika's dangerous, and Yifa should join her on a tour of the harem. Meanwhile, Seika arrives at the mountain super fast, riding on a giant crab he summoned. As he gets close to the dragon, it blasts him with fire. But Seika throws up a barrier. He summons an Ayakashi, but the dragon swats it away like a fly. Seika then traps the dragon in a net using his magic. With the dragon tied up, he checks out its nest and finds an egg. Turns out the dragon must have switched genders after its partner died. Meanwhile, Yifa's touring the harem with Lise. Lise tells Yifa that the current queen, the prince's mom, is a super popular ruler. But the prince is worried he can't live up to her legacy, which is why he's rushing to get glory for himself with the dragon and rushing to find a wife. Lies keeps pushing the prince on Yifa, telling her to stay by his side and support him. Back on the mountain, Seika's made friends with the dragon by helping it take care of its egg and warming up the rocks around it. He's getting tired and figures he should tell the prince the dragon's not a threat. As he's about to leave, the dragon growls at him and drags him back, not letting him go. After the tour, the prince gets the paperwork ready to free Yifa, planning to pay all the money himself, but Yifa's not having it. She says they need Seika's okay to free her. The prince says he'll okay it, and if Seika refuses, he'll force him to sell her to him. Yifa stands up for herself, saying she can decide what she wants. Just then, an officer says the paperwork's ready, and they need her thumbprint on it. Seeing Yifa's not down with it, the prince is told to use the guards to force her. Like a gullible idiot, the prince orders the guards to restrain her. As Yifa's about to use her magic to break free, Lies stops her with a magic nullifying barrier. Then, Lies cuts Yifa's finger and uses her blood as ink for the thumbprint. Just as Lise is about to stamp Yifa's thumb on the paper, Seika makes a grand entrance. Riding the dragon, everyone's shocked. Seika explains he needs to keep the dragon's egg warm and needs someone with fire magic. He holds out his hand to Yifa and asks her to come with him, leaving the prince and his crew in the dust, ruining their evil plan. Then they get to the dragon's nest, and Zect pops out of nowhere with his lava tiger, which immediately tries to attack Yifa and Seika. Seika binds it with his magic and yells for Zect to show himself. Zect appears with his men, revealing he wanted the egg all along and tricked the prince. Realizing he messed up, Zect releases the tiger again, but Yifa surprises Seika by using her water magic to take it down. But Zect's not giving up. He summons the tiger again with his men, but Seika uses his super spell to vaporize the tiger. The dragon scares off Zect's men, and Seika restrains them with vines, not letting them escape. Yifa burns Zect's spellbook so he can't do anything else. Seika compliments Yifa for being brave and using her magic, and pats her head. Back at the palace, the prince throws Zect and his goons in prison. Turning to Seika, the prince asks what he learned. Seika spills the tea. The dragon was acting weird because it had an egg, and it accepted him to raise it. This makes Seika believe the story about the queen who hatched the dragon from an egg. To the dragon, humans were its parents, and that carries over to its offspring, protecting the age-old bond between dragon and humanity, keeping Protoaster safe for generations. Seika begs the prince to repay this favor by helping the dragon hatch its egg, reuniting the dragon and the people of Protoaster as a family. But the prince is being a selfish jerk. He refuses, wanting to be seen as a king who achieved greatness. To him, the dragon's just a tool to get to the throne. However, our low-down protagonist decides to go all goody two-shoes on us. When Seika's like, "Nah, I ain't gonna off the dragon for you," the prince's face goes dark. He sees Seika's refusal as a threat to his grand plans, so he makes up some bees. He twists everything around with lies, accusing Seika of using magic to make the dragon act all crazy, totally made up to justify his own actions. Seika was gonna play along, but his patience ran out when the prince kept trying to force Yifa into marrying him. He snapped, calling the prince immature and saying he wasn't good enough for Yifa. Dude's protective instincts kicked in big time because he hates the prince's shallow reasons. Then, Lisa's laughter breaks the tension. She tells the guards to chill and asks everyone to think about what Yifa really wants. Yifa, feeling confident thanks to Seika, flat out rejects the prince's proposal and says she's heading back to the academy with Seika. Lies. Seeing the prince's efforts are useless, tells him to give up. She thanks Seika for helping with the dragon before asking for a private chat with Yifa. In a private talk with Yifa, Lies gives her some healing elementals and tells her Seika will figure out her feelings soon. With that, she wishes her good luck. As Seika and Yifa leave for the academy, Yifa spills the tea. She's descended from elves, which is why she can use elemental magic. She's got this new info weighing on her, and she's nervous to ask Seika about Lisa's weird warning about his true nature, not knowing how he'll react. Then, a new group of villains shows up, adding a dark twist to the story. Mutarev, Piercelaria, Loni, Gulganis, and their captain are straight up ruthless, showing no mercy as they wipe out a monster that a kid set up as a trap. The kid tries to fight back, but the captain easily kills the monster, and the group eats the kid. Their mission? Take down the hero, even if it kills them. Over in another kingdom, the princess finds out from her guard that they're ready to bounce, so she gets ready to go. Meanwhile, back at the academy, Seika invites Amyu and Mabel over to his place, explaining that his dad wants him to come home for spring break. His dad wants to meet a swordswoman who can use all the magical elements, and Seika's sure his dad will be stoked to meet the daughter of Baron Crane. Amyu and Mabel are both down. After saying bye to them, Seika mutters to himself that he's not looking forward to it. Yuki overhears and questions Seika, saying he seems bummed about going home. Seika admits he doesn't want to go because there's someone at the mansion who's super important, and that person wants to meet them. He adds that politics always mess things up. Yuki suggests Seika should just skip it if he doesn't want to go, but Seika says he can't just do whatever he wants. The ultra-careful dude doesn't want to stick out like he did in his past life, which is what him over. The next day, Seika gets home and is greeted by his brother Luft and Edis, Yifa's dad. Seika introduces Amyu and Mabel, and they exchange hellos, but their chit-chat gets cut short when his brother Glee challenges Seika to a fight, bringing up some old embarrassing moment. Amyu, noticing the tension, asks Yifa if Gly was the bully, and Yifa's like, yup, this makes Amyu want to fight Gly instead. Seika, being the cocky fool he is, backs the idea, saying Amyu's stronger than him and suggesting that if Gly wins, he can fight Seika next. Gly agrees and makes Seika the ref. The duel starts, and Amyu seems to be winning, but Gly cheats and disarms her, claiming victory. Amyu accuses him of cheating, but Gly says it was just a trick. When Amyu wants a rematch, Gly refuses, telling Seika to keep his word and fight him. Just then, the princess shows up out of nowhere, saying she wants to watch the duel. She says it must be fate that she's there. Glee asks why she's wandering around alone, and she jokes that everyone either left her behind or she left everyone behind. Glee tells her not to cause trouble for his guys, but she brushes it off and tells him to get on with the duel, saying there's always something to learn from losing. This makes Glee give up the duel. The princess then asks Seika to introduce her to his guests. Seika introduces her as Princess Fiona Erd Alaglyph. Everyone's shocked, recognizing her as the princess. Then, they head inside. As they walk, Yuki quietly asks Seika what the deal is with the princess. Seika explains it's not a rank. She's called that because she's got both priestess and royal blood. Amyu then asks Seika why the princess is visiting their place. The princess answers herself, saying she's heard a lot about them. She mentions that Amyu aced the entrance exams, can use all 4 elements, and is a total swordmaster. Inside her head, the princess thinks about Amyu, noting that she's just like her mother's vision before she died. The princess thanks Seika for letting her crash. Seika says it's no problem, and he's happy to help. She then says she would have loved to make him her knight, but it's a no-go. Instead, she asks Seika to see her off when she heads back to the capital, and to make sure she's treated like royalty while she's there. Seika agrees, and the princess dips. While they're eating, the princess says she wishes she could fly if she were reborn, and Seika suggests becoming a bird, but she wants something tougher, like a dragon. Seika shares that he knows a dragon and is friends with Yifa, the dragon. The princess jokes about Yifa and Seika being an item, and Yifa quickly says she's just Seika's servant. The princess wonders if the academy takes servants and commoners, bringing up Mabel being a commoner. But Mabel says she was adopted by the Crane family, and Seika suggests a fight between Mabel and Gly, which Mabel declines. Meanwhile, Seika's dad thinks back to his talk with Edris, who was salty about Yifa being sent to the academy as Seika's servant, calling Seika a bastard. Seika's dad defends Seika, saying he's a good kid who hasn't caused any trouble at school. Back in the present, Seika's dad asks about school, and Seika says everything's cool. Seika's mom wants him to write home more, which surprises Seika because she used to ignore him. After dinner, Seika's in his room chatting with Yuki. He jumps when Amyu busts in. Yuki hides, like always, and Seika and Amyu talk about their plans after finishing the lower grades. Amyu wants to be an adventurer, and Seika says he promised to tag along, so he's down with that. After their talk, Amyu leaves. Yuki then reminds Seika of his original plan, to get close to Amyu to keep his own powers on the down low. The next day, they all hit up the city for some sightseeing. Glai tells Seika that they're the only ones who can handle any problems since the guards stayed home. At the market, the princess suggests she and Seika hold hands so they don't get lost. They go around buying stuff and having a blast. The princess sees something she likes and asks what you gotta do to get closer to someone. Seika says saving them might do the trick. Amyu agrees, saying it works great. The princess loves the idea of being rescued and glares at Seika. Amyu's like, I totally get it. Seika makes a dumb comment that Amyu would be the one doing the saving. As they keep sightseeing, Seika and the princess are still holding hands. Amyu, getting jealous, asks Seika when he's gonna let go of the princess's hand. The princess says Seika needs to stick by her side because who knows what might happen next. So they're walking, right? And bam, construction everywhere. Glai's all, yo, stay back. But of course, stuff goes wrong. Amyu and Glai are quick as heck, saving the princess and Seika. The princess is super grateful to Amyu, but you can tell she kinda wishes Seika was the one who rescued her, lol. Then Glai's like, aight, time to bounce. Before they jet, Seika buys the princess this cute hair scarf. She's stoked, saying she'll cherish it forever. Later, Seika finds Glai training, and they start talking about the night gig and the princess's future-seeing powers, inherited from her mom, who was a straight-up oracle priestess. Seika asks if the kingdom knows who she really is, and Glai says nah, but he points out that the princess is obsessed with meeting Amyu, so she's gotta be the hero, which Seika already knew, duh. Glai also mentions the princess wants to see Seika too, telling him to be careful and not mess with her visions for the empire's future. The next day, the princess is on a Seika hunt, wandering around yelling his name. Meanwhile, Seika's chilling in the garden with Yuki. Yuki's all, is the princess's future sight like yours? Seika breaks it down, saying they're different and assuring Yuki that they're good, as long as he doesn't get involved with the princess. Cut to Amyu bumping into Seika. He asks what she's up to, and she's like, training with your Broglie, but I can't even win one battle. Seika's mind is blown. How can Amyu, a hero, be losing to Glai? Amyu throws it back at him, asking what he's doing, and he admits he's hiding from the princess. Amyu teases him, saying the princess is totally crushing on him and reminds him that she's leaving soon. She drops that the princess is playing chess alone and looks bummed, so Seika decides to face the music and go see her. Seika finds the princess and asks why she's not playing chess with anyone. She says everyone's scared because they think they can't win. Then she invites Seika to play. Seika's like, yo, I barely know the rules. If the pros are losing, I'm trouble. She promises to take it easy, and he jokes that he's so bad, he might actually win. The princess proposes a bet. Loser does whatever the winner says. Seika's in. During the game, she asks Seika which chess piece he thinks is the strongest. Seika drops some knowledge, saying it's the one controlling the pieces, like politicians, who never get killed on the battlefield. The princess is impressed. She says most people would say the king, or a dragon knight, but his answer is what she's been looking for. Seika's like, am I right? And she's like, maybe, but I think the strongest piece is the people living in the world, since they're all around the king, the politicians, everyone. Seika agrees, pointing out that the people can overthrow a government, but most of the time, they're powerless and exploited. They keep chatting, and the princess says the people have numbers on their side. Seika asks if that's why she's trying to get her name out there, and she says yes. She doesn't have a king or knight on her side, so she's using a piece no one pays attention to. Then she hits him with the, I'm gonna win in 7 moves bomb. Seika gives up, impressed by her foresight. The princess asks what would make Seika trust her. He says a secret or knowing exactly what she's thinking would do the trick. So, she spills an embarrassing childhood secret and reveals her real goal. She wants to save someone. She gives a simplified example to explain, but says she can't say more, cause it could mess up the future. Seika asks if that's why she wants to see Amyu, and the princess lets him think that. They wrap up their convo with Seika offering to help. The princess is stoked and says she'll think about what she wants him to do since he lost at chess. Meanwhile, these dudes Mudarev, Loni, Pirslaria, Gulganis, and their captain Zormnum are feasting on some losers they just beat. Gul's trying to get the captain to eat, but Zormnum's not feeling it. In his head, he's acknowledging how strong they're getting, and how far they've come. He thinks about how he used to hate his power, but now he sees it as the key to reaching their goals. Seika's getting ready to head back to the academy with Amyu, Mabel, and Yifa. The princess is also heading back to the capital, and Seika's seeing her off like he promised. They say their goodbyes to Luft, and the princess thanks him for his hospitality. On the way back, Seika and Glai are talking. Seika asks if it's safe for Glai to be there, and Glai's like, my main job is protecting the princess. Suddenly, bam! The bandits attack, but they're going after a fake carriage. Seika decides to jump in. Archers are aiming at him, but he uses his magic to create a magnetic storm, blocking the arrows. The bandit leader tries to coordinate an attack on Seika and another carriage, but he quickly realizes he messed up, questioning Seika's magic. The goons tell him that all the carriages are decoys, and he orders the Topaz unit to use their magic against Seika, but Seika's too op, and he wins. Glai orders his army to protect the princess no matter what. The princess asks Seika to capture the enemy alive, which he does using a spell. Seika tells Amu, Mabel, and Yifa what's up, and they say they noticed the carriage behind them wasn't keeping up. By the time they got there, Seika had already taken care of everything, and nobody was seriously hurt. Yifa says it's weird for bandits to attack a carriage with an army escort, and Seika agrees. Seika talks to the princess, who reveals the bandits were actually assassins. Seika's like, you kept them alive to use as evidence against your political enemies? She confirms, but she needs to find out who ordered the hit first. Seika asks if she has any suspects, and she says she has too many to narrow it down. Seika wonders if she's taking them all to the capital, and she says yes, because she saw the attack coming, which is why she had the extra carriages. She says making them walk would take too long, and Seika would miss the start of the semester. Seika thinks it's a bad idea, because the assassins could escape and attack again, but she's sure it won't happen. When they get to the capital, they split up. The princess tells Seika she's on their side, and to remember that no matter what. Meanwhile, Zormnim and his crew are heading to their destination. He gets them hyped for the upcoming battle, saying they'll all go home together after they beat the hero. The crew members share their individual dreams, and Zormnim assures them they'll accomplish everything together. At the academy, Seika's in a meeting with the principal, who asks him to represent the student body. Seika accepts, thinking it's an honor, even though he doesn't really care about the potential government job that might come with it. On his way back, he talks it over with Yuki. Yuki wonders if it was the right choice for Seika, since he doesn't like being in the spotlight. Seika says it's normal to accept these responsibilities. They keep talking, and Seika wonders if his past has made him a bit of a coward, or if he should aim to be the strongest. But he's got no regrets about meeting his friends at the academy, and is looking forward to the next chapter as an adventurer. He decides to act normal from now on, not worrying about standing out. Yuki questions what normal even means, asking if Seika would run from a fight. Seika says he'd find a way to deal with it, even if it means avoiding it, which Yuki says isn't exactly normal. Seika reassures Yuki that as long as they don't know who's behind it, it's all good, and he asks Yuki to stick close, because they're gonna be busy. Meanwhile, Zormnim and his crew roll up to the academy. Even though he doesn't sense any danger, Zormnim feels a weird sense of dread. He addresses his crew, reminding them that their mission is to find and kill the hero. He lays out the plan. They'll push the students towards the main building from all sides and start the slaughter there. If they see anyone who looks like the hero, they should use their magic item to send a signal. If they can't find the hero, the chaos should draw them out. Zormnim stresses that their actions are for a noble cause for the demon's future and promises his crew that they'll all make it back home alive. As they kick off their plan, bam, this weird fog rolls into the academy. Loney and Piercelaria are sticking together, and Loney's all, this fog ain't messing with me, I got mad direction skills. Piercelaria's like, yo, you've been super reliable lately, which throws Lonnie for a loop. She's noticed he's been leveling up, handling his monsters and his feelings. Loney's still feeling like the noob, but Piercelaria's like, nah dude, you've improved big time. And she's feeling herself too, cause she used to suck in peaceful times, but now she's proud of her powers and can't wait to tell her parents she helped beat the hero. Suddenly, Loney hears some footsteps and sends his beast to check it out. The beast comes back with some sus stuff. Meanwhile, Mutarev runs into Mabel. In a flash, Mutarev asks Mabel for her name, but Mabel's all, who are you and what do you want? Mutarev introduces himself, saying he's gonna take her down. Mabel asks if he was hired, cause she's never seen his type in the Merchant Association. Mutarev's confused and says he has no clue what she's talking about. Mabel brushes it off and says she won't let him pass, and they're throwing hands. Mutarev's swinging like crazy, but Mabel's playing defense. He calls her out on it, telling her to attack already. Mutarev dodges, but is blown away by how much damage her hit does to the floor. He's impressed, acknowledging how agile and strong she is. Mutarev is actually enjoying the fight now. Mutarev nails Mabel, and she loses her weapon. She busts out some magic, but Mutarev's totally unfazed, saying he's got magic resistance. As the fight heats up, Mutarev corners Mabel and strikes, but boom, she vanishes, leaving only a talisman behind. Cut to Gul'Ganis meeting up with Zormnim in a weird spot. Gul's questioning Zormnim, like, this ain't the spot, yo, but he admits he felt drawn there. Zormnim felt the same way, and soon the whole crew's there, scratching their heads. Piercelaria's like, humans are so weird, and Zormnim pulls out a talisman he found. Everyone else shows off similar talismans. Zormnim realizes they're in trouble and this is super awkward, so he suggests they bounce. But before they can dip, Seika pops up, reciting some poem about a swordsman fighting Ayakashi. He translates it, warning them to watch out for visitors at dusk, cause things aren't always what they seem. Seika reveals that every person they met was one of his Shikigami. Then he calls out Mutarev, saying the girl he fought was real and strong. Mutarev agrees, sensing Seika's strength too. Zormnim, using his powers, knows they're outmatched. Mutarev, being a fool, challenges Seika and gets insta-killed. shocking the crew and sending them into panic mode. Seika just says Mudarev needed to train more. Pierslaria immediately attacks, trying to use her evil eye on Seika. Zormnim tells her not to, but she goes for it anyway. As she's powering up, Seika summons a white snake, which messes her up. Loni rushes in, trying to tame the snake. Zormnim yells at him to back off, but it's too late. The snake swallows Loni whole. Seika explains that Loni can't tame the white snake because it's made of human hate. Zormnim rethinks their plan, realizing they messed up by thinking they could beat Seika. Gulganis offers to distract Seika so Zormnim can escape, but Zormnim tells Gul to run instead, using his teleportation powers. Seika, knowing their mission, reveals he's protecting the hero. Zormnim tells Gul to warn their people that Seika is the demon lord and is protecting the hero. Seika unleashes a massive attack, killing Zormnim, but he notices Gul got away. Using a talisman, Seika tracks and finishes off Gul. A few minutes later, Mabel runs to Seika, telling him about the attack she faced. Seika reassures her, and she realizes he already took care of it. Seika then tells Mabel to keep their encounter on the DL. Seika's hanging with his crew, Amyu, Mabel, and Yifa, talking about his upcoming speech. They're teasing him about being nervous, but Seika brushes it off. Yifa says she'd be freaking out, and Seika asks Amyu how she felt when she had to give a speech for the school. Amyu's all confident, saying she wasn't nervous at all, adding that she was a bit of a rebel back then. She remembers a demon interrupting her speech, and shares what she planned to say. She wanted to get stronger to protect her friends, kick demon butt, and become an adventurer. She wanted the students to get along and chase their dreams. Yifa thinks it's a solid speech. Seika realizes Amyu had no clue the demons were targeting her. He announces he's gotta go give his speech, and his friends are hyped. As Seika heads for the podium, a group of Dirac Knights bursts in, demanding to see Amyu. They point her out and accuse her of committing a huge crime against the Empire by offing a demon emissary who visited the academy. Amyu's confused and says she has no idea what they're talking about. Even though she denies it, the Knights arrest her, and Seika's looking seriously worried. While Amyu's being arrested, Mabel's ready to throw down, but Seika stops her, telling her Amyu will be okay and he trusts her innocence. They watch as Amyu gets dragged away. Later, Seika meets with the principal to talk about Amyu's situation. The principal knows about the demons at school but says she doesn't know who took care of them. She asks if Seika's blaming her for Amyu's arrest. Seika says no, explaining that the Empire's probably using this as an excuse to take out the hero, but he doesn't know why. The principal says not everyone's greedy and politics are complicated. She's putting pressure on the Imperial Court from all angles and tells Seika to chill and not do anything crazy. Seika asks how long that'll take, worried about Amyu's safety and if she might die under suspicious circumstances. He apologizes, saying he knows the principal's doing everything she can, and thanks her before leaving. Outside, Yifa and Mabel tell Seika that if he decides to rescue Amyu, they're down to ride. Seika joins them and says the principal's got this and they should trust her. Later that night, Seika's furious and summons Ryu, a dragon, questioning if he's worthy to be its master, and subduing the dragon to prove himself. Yuki, sensing Seika's rage, suggests he should just let Amyu go in this new world. She warns that if he unleashes his power on important people, it'll bring the wrong kind of attention and could lead to the same fate as his past life. Seika blows off Yuki's concerns, saying there's only one hero, and if people see his power, he'll make sure they don't live to tell the tale. Yuki asks why Seika is so angry, and tells him to think it through. Seika flashes back to something, then snaps at Yuki to shut up, asking if she's trying to tell him what to do. Yuki goes silent, and Seika hops on Ryu, ordering it to fly west and find Amyu. Meanwhile, Amyu's sitting in prison, thinking about her situation, and worrying about Yifa and Mabel. She wonders what's gonna happen to her, someone's visiting. But before Amyu can react, Seika arrives at the castle where she's locked up. Using his talisman, he finds her exact location. As he gets closer, a group of knights confront him, telling him to stop. Ignoring them, Seika keeps going. So the knights attack with arrows. Seika uses a spell to create a magnetic storm that deflects the arrows and takes out the knights. As he moves further into the castle, Seika runs into another group of knights who know he's a threat. He tells them to stand down, offering to let them live if they comply. They refuse and attack, so Seika summons a monster that wipes them out. Finally, Seika gets to Amyu's cell. He's all like, "Amyu, we gotta bounce." But she's hesitant, you know? Worried about his fam and the whole ripple effect. She's like, "Nah, I'll get out of here eventually." "Seika, go back to school, chill." But Seika's not having it. He's all serious. "Dude, you're the hero. Your life's in danger. These peeps are scared of power, and they'll totally off you if you stay." Amyu gets it, but she's still torn. Seika's just super focused on keeping her safe, period. So while he's trying to convince Amyu to ditch, he gets a bad vibe and throws a punch. His bro, Glee, blocks it. Then Seika's like, "Let's duel, bro, like you wanted." But bam, the princess cuts in, saying there's no need for a duel. Seika realizes she knew this was gonna happen and gets in her face. "Spill it, princess. What's the deal? Or are you gonna send more weak sauce my way?" The princess explains they're just making sure no one messes things up because they know how dangerous Seika is. Seika's like, okay, but what's really going on? The princess says she's gonna answer his questions to show she's on the level. Hoping he'll be cool with her offer, Seika demands to know why they're trying to ice Amyu when they've got actual demons to fight. The princess explains that the demon king and hero thing is so last century. Now both humans and demons have armies. Seika's all, so that justifies murder? If she's useless? Just ignore her. The princess says the hero's very existence could kick off a war, which nobody wants. The demons probably feel the same, which is why they're sending assassins. They don't want to win. They want to not have the game start. She adds that Amyu can't become the next big hero with Seika around, coddling her and saving her from the hard stuff. If Seika's helping Amyu because of his own strength, it's not going to pan out the way he wants. Seika fires back. So, because Amyu might not become what I want, I should just let her die to keep the peace? The princess is all, no way, that's not what I want. We're doing everything we can to protect her. Just trust us. Leave her with us, and we'll keep her safe. Remember our chess game promise? Seika's like, why should I trust you? The princess gets his skepticism and offers a different plan. He can take Amyu and leave. She tells Glai to stand down the guards and leads them to a carriage. The princess tells Seika and Amyu to head to Rachna, the free city. She's already prepped them for their arrival. Amyu thanks the princess, and Seika apologizes for breaking his promise. He then resurrects her fallen soldiers as a thank you. The princess mutters that Seika's actions have made things complicated for her, since she was gonna blame a demon attack. Even so, they say their goodbyes. Seika and Amyu are riding in the carriage, talking about everything that just went down. Amyu admits she was totally lost during the convo with the princess, and asks Seika to explain it all later in the capital. Then he asks if she even knows how to ride in a carriage. Meanwhile, the princess gets confronted by some shadowy figure who's geeking out over Seika's power. She reveals that Seika's actually the current demon king. The shadowy dude is shocked, calling Seika His Highness the Demon King, and is totally confused about why he's interested in a human. The princess explains that Amyu's important to Seika. She remembers trying to meet Seika as a kid, and always seeing him use his powers to help people, even though he knew it would lead to his destruction. She thinks he's a good guy. Back in the carriage, Seika and Amyu are talking about how Yifa and the gang are gonna be super worried and probably mad. They know they gotta apologize later. Seika asks if Amyu regrets anything, but she says she doesn't. They promise to support each other on their new adventure.